The 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony was, it was less an award show and more this dizzying trip through, what, 7 decades of music history?
Oh, absolutely. You had rap icons, grunge pioneers, pop royalty, all sharing one stage.
It was a really massive class.
It really was, held on Saturday, November 8th, out in L.A. And the thing that struck me was the sheer scope of it all. You have artists like Outkast, who were, just past that 25-year eligibility rule.
Right.
And then you have Joe Cocker, whose career kicked off back in the 60s. It's just a huge range.
Okay, so let's unpack that. For this deep dive, our mission is to go beyond just, the list of who got in. We want to focus on the implications of the night.
The stories behind the inductions.
Exactly. The emotional tributes that really defined a legacy, the collaborations that you never saw coming, and yeah, the moments that went viral for being either pure magic or just total chaos.
And there was plenty of both.
We have to start with Warren Zevon. Lawyers, Guns and Money, Werewolves of London. His induction by David Letterman was, hands down, the most profound moment of the entire night.
It was so personal. What's amazing here is that Letterman wasn't just, reading some script. He was telling the story of a decades-long friendship.
Yeah.
And he really centered his speech on Zevon's final appearance on The Late Show. That was back in 2002, right after Zevon got his terminal cancer diagnosis.
It was essentially a public farewell, an artist being championed by one of his biggest fans who happened to have a TV show.
Exactly. And that appearance gave us one of the most lasting quotes in music, right?
Yeah.
That whole idea of perspective in the face of mortality.
Enjoy every sandwich.
That's the one. Letterman recounted asking Zevon what the diagnosis taught him, and that was his reply. But the story Letterman told next, that's what showed the real symbolic weight of it all.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, because it wasn't just talk. There was a physical artifact involved.
Precisely. Letterman shared that after that final show, backstage, Zevon just handed him his gray guitar.
Wow.
And said, "Take care of this for me." And Letterman brought that same guitar to the ceremony, this, tangible piece of Zevon's final journey.
So he's kept it all this time.
And then he hands it directly to Dave Kuning from The Killers, who then uses it for their tribute performance. It wasn't just a tribute. It was like the literal passing of a musical torch.
That's beautiful. It sets such a tone of honoring history. But let's transition to another duo that deals so much in their own history and legacy, the White Stripes.
Right. And a legacy that's complicated by absence.
Drummer Meg White was, as expected, not there. She prefers to stay out of the spotlight, has since they broke up in 2011, but she was still kind of secretly influencing things.
She was the hidden collaborator. I love this part. Jack White gets up to the podium and reveals that not only was Meg very grateful, but she had secretly edited most of his speech.
No.
Yes. He specifically mentioned she made a lot of punctuation corrections. It's just so perfect for her role in the band, right? The quiet, foundational correcting element.
That's incredible. Now, their tribute performances showed a bit of a friction, let's say.
A bit, yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo and Feist did We're Going to Be Friends, which makes total sense. Rodrigo has said Jack White's guitar playing is why she started taking lessons.
That felt very authentic. But then you get 21 Pilots doing Seven Nation Army. And while the energy was there, their whole visual gag.
With the shredded material on their heads?
Yeah, that drew some pretty strong criticism. And it brings up that question, when does an experimental tribute stop honoring the original and start distracting from it? Some people definitely thought that was a distraction.
Speaking of things that distract, let's get into the section with the highest expectations and maybe the most chaotic results.
Outkast.
The induction of Outkast. Big Boi and André 3000 inducted by Donald Glover.
This was definitely bittersweet for the fans. André 3000 was there. He was on stage for the speech with Big Boi, which was great to see.
But he didn't perform.
He didn't perform. He's on a different artistic path now, and he stuck to it, which, you have to respect. But it instantly created this massive pressure for the all-star medley that followed.
A pressure they did not live up to, based on what I read. I saw underwhelming, a mess, disjointed.
All of the above.
Why do these big multi-artist medleys seem to fall apart so often at these shows?
I think that's the key insight here. You have to remember, these are basically complex, under-rehearsed live broadcasts. You're juggling massive egos, tight schedules. The logistics just crumble.
And we saw specific examples of that.
Oh, yeah. Doja Cat, she stumbled badly during Miss Jackson. She just lost her place and couldn't get it back. Maybe it was a tech issue, but it looked rough.
And Janelle Monáe.
Her vocals during Hey Ya were just Off. The energy was there. She always brings that, but the vocals weren't.
So it was a victim of its own ambition. But even inside all that chaos, there were some bright spots, right? Some magic.
Absolutely. Tyler, the creator, received universal praise. He completely killed his part on Bombs Over Baghdad. But the real viral moment, the totally joyous, unexpected thing.
George Clinton.
Yes. The funk legend, George Clinton, just spontaneously joins them on stage for the end of Hey Ah. And that one moment perfectly bridged the P-Funk Foundation right into the Dungeon Family sound. It was the one piece of unplanned genius that saved the whole thing.
From hip-hop chaos to pop royalty, Cyndi Lauper, inducted by Chappell Roan, the drama here was almost all about the introduction.
That introduction was a masterclass in how a logistical failure turns into a controversy. Chappell Roan's speech was called awkward, even the worst speech ever by some.
She swore on air, right, and was just visibly struggling.
Yeah, because she apparently chose not to wear her contacts or glasses, and she just couldn't read the teleprompter from where it was.
A style choice leading to a live TV disaster.
Pretty much, she had to abandon the script on the fly, but then Lauper herself followed that, and she just delivered the sincerity the room was craving.
Right. She brought the weight back. During her performance of True Colors, she paused. And I read she raised her fist in solidarity with the LGBTQ plus community.
And got a huge standing ovation for it. It was such a contrast to the awkwardness that came before, a reminder that she has always been an advocate.
And then she brought out Avril Lavigne, RAYE, and Salt and Peppa for Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Correct.
Just reinforcing that whole theme of female solidarity.
A great moment.
Okay, let's move to the rock legends. Soundgarden's induction. I mean, Black Hole Sun fell on black days. This one felt incredibly heavy without Chris Cornell there.
Very heavy. And their inductor, Jim Carrey, he provided this surprisingly genuine backstory.
I was not expecting that pairing.
Me neither. But he told this story about how he hosted SNL back in '96, and he insisted that Soundgarden had to be the musical guest. And they ended up gifting him Chris Cornell's Fender Telecaster.
Wow. Another one of these totemic objects.
Exactly. And the tribute itself was so intentional, a Seattle-centric cast of all-stars.
Right. You had Taylor Momsen singing Rusty Cage, Brandi Carlile on Black Hole Sun.
But the really specific moving decision came from Toni Cornell, Chris's daughter. She teamed up with Nancy Wilson from Heart for an acoustic version of Fell on Black Days.
And it was styled differently, right?
Deliberately styled after her dad's intimate songbook solo tour arrangements. It just showed such a deep understanding of his later work, not just the famous grunge hits.
So if Soundgarden was the emotional, difficult tribute, Joe Cocker's was just the pure musical triumph.
Unmitigated, yes.
Yeah.
Inducted by Bryan Adams, honored for, You Are So Beautiful, and of course with a little help from my friends.
And this performance was hailed as the best of the night.
Hands down. You had Teddy Swims, Nathaniel Rateliff, and just the sheer force of the Tedeschi Trucks Band. Susan Tedeschi in particular was praised for just killing it. It proves that sometimes the tribute can actually eclipse the original performance.
And that tribute became the show's official closer.
It did. The massive group sing-along of With a Little Help from My Friends. A huge cathartic finale. It got even better when Cyndi Lauper came back out and joined them.
And I saw people saying she sounded even better on that number than in her own medley.
The irony, right? Less pressure, maybe. And we should also mention that incredible opening tribute to Sly Stone with Stevie Wonder, Beck, and Jennifer Hudson. That set a really high bar early on.
Let's talk about absences for a minute. Bad Company, inducted by Mick Fleetwood. They were missing their iconic voice, Paul Rodgers.
Yeah, he missed his first planned reunion since 2019 because of some unspecified health issues. But he delivered this really moving pre-recorded video speech.
What did he say?
He dedicated the whole thing to the fans and ended with a quote from Desiderata. It was very personal, but it left this big hole in the live performance.
Which they filled by, again, relying on that network of collaborators.
Exactly. You had the band with drummer Simon Kirke, joined by Nancy Wilson, Joe Perry, Chris Robinson, and Bryan Adams stepped up to sing lead on Feel Like Making Love.
It just shows the resilience of that community.
It really does. And that leads us perfectly into maybe the most important theme of this year's class. The hall is finally focusing on the artists who are always absent from the main stage.
The session legends. The architects.
This is a fundamental shift in what the hall is. If you're going to recognize the architecture of popular music, you have to recognize the foundation. This year, they honored people like Tom Bell, the producer for The Spinners.
And Lenny Waronker, the executive who worked on Purple Rain.
Right. But the session musicians, that's where the real deep dive is. We're talking about people whose playing you've heard a million times, but whose faces you've probably never seen.
That's the whole point.
That's the point. They honored Carol Kaye, the legendary session bassist. She played on everything, from Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys to...
These boots are made for walking.
Exactly. And Nicky Hopkins, the English keyboardist, whose piano basically defined tracks like Sympathy for the Devil for the Stones and Revolution for the Beatles.
So their induction officially confirms the Hall isn't just about the charismatic front person anymore. It's about the technical brilliance that actually shaped the sound.
So if you connect all these dots, this 2025 class, it spanned nearly 7 decades, and it really reinforced the Hall's evolution. By putting session players like Kaye and Hopkins next to rap icons like Outkast, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has fully become the Hall of modern popular music.
So what does this all mean for you listening? The ceremony, despite all the flubs, and let's look past the Shackle Roan speech and the Outcast sound issues, it proved the enduring power of music to connect eras and genres.
Often through those totally unexpected collaborations, like George Clinton crashing the stage. It's messy, but it feels real.
But the inclusion of these session heroes, these people who never sought the spotlight but shaped the entire landscape of music, that raises a challenge. Considering the vital unsung roles recognized this year, what crucial, pivotal figure in music history do you think deserves recognition next?
Someone whose influence is just massive, even if they never took the spotlight themselves.
Something to chew on until the next deep dive?